I've got really lucky, I think, so I'm really happy. First camp should be relatively dry.
So it's a thoroughly wet start. So much rain to western parts of England and Wales recently, and there's more to come on Friday night.
My name is Tom Reeder. I'm a director for TV productions and internet videos, but my passion has always been adventure. Climbing, diving, camping, hiking, I love it. I started this channel to make my own adventure videos, but I've had a few years where I've struggled to make anything. Firstly, due to the pandemic, then due to the birth of my first child. I decided it was time to challenge myself and get my passion for the outdoors back, so I came up with a challenge that seems pretty straightforward. I'm going to spend one night a month camping outside. I have 5 rules to guide me. Number 1, solo camping only. Number 2, a different style of camping each time. Number 3, a different location each time. Number 4, rain or shine. And number 5, self-sustained. And the last rule that is so basic I can't even call it a rule, it's the fundamental principle of being outdoors: leave no trace. So join me each month as I go out and discover something new.
Daddy's going!
So it begins, my first camp of the year.
Bye.
I'm setting off onto the Dartmoor moors. I had to walk a quarter-mile up the road to the start point, the now closed Harford village car park, but crossing the cattle grid marked the start of my route. The route is simple: crossing this section of the moor onto the Two Moors path at the crest of the hill, then following that north before departing at the bend, crossing a small stream, trending west, cross a river, up a hill, and boom, camp location.
Okay, I'll be honest, I'm having second thoughts, and it's only been about 10 minutes, but that's okay. I just gotta keep going and get over it. I've never been here before. Maybe we should start there. I've never been to Dartmoor before. This place has always been on my list of places to visit because it's got like this esoteric kind of magical quality to it, the Dartmoor moors. And in fact, the old devil himself apparently visited this place in the 1600s, and it's home to, to a collection of Britain's big cats. But first and foremost, it's actually the place where you can legally wild camp. That was until today. This morning, I woke up, checked my social media, and saw that it is now no longer legal to wild camp on this overcrowded, dirty, disgusting place called Dartmoor.
The decision to outlaw wild camping on Dartmoor is a huge deal. Until now, it was the only place in England that you could pitch a tent for a night and enjoy the adventure of being outdoors, with the comfort of knowing that you were allowed to do it. This is why I chose Dartmoor to begin with. What better way to start this challenge than spending a night outside at a place that really understands and encourages the activity? It is really sad that our rights to access the countryside in this way have been removed. Part of this challenge for me was inspired by the memories I've had of camping over my lifetime. No night outdoors is ill spent, whatever happens. It's a way of connecting with our past, our present, and ensuring a respect and care for the environment in the future. With more people living in cities than ever before, nights spent under the stars are now more valuable than ever before. If people don't get a taste of the outdoors, then they'll never understand why they need to protect it. I continued along the path, taking in the views. The place was stunning, and I had it all to myself, not a soul in sight. Well, almost. I passed by some old quarry ruins and crossed the bridge, but my mind was jumping to concerns about losing the daylight. I had been messing around with the drone and my cameras, and the winter sun didn't have a lot of burn time left. So, hedging my bets, I thought I should give more information about my campsite location, just in case I arrived in the pitch black.
I am going to camp at the start of the world's longest stone row. What's that? Was that the sound of extreme amazement? I think it was. Yep, that's right. I'm gonna go and pitch a tent at the foot of a 3,300 meter length of stones.
The stone row begins on Erme Plains. It's an ancient place and very remote. The upper Erme stone row stretches over 3 kilometers in a straight line, making it the longest in the world. At its southern end there is a circle of 26 rocks known as the Dancers, legend having it that these were once girls who came up onto the moor to dance on a Sunday and were turned into stone as punishment. It's here I plan to spend the night, but as the path continues I can't help but feel that time is running out to arrive with any daylight. So I better get a move on.
So I'm on the faint path that's going to lead me to tonight's camp, but first we'll go through the ruins, the remains of ancient settlements. There's these very distinct circles in the landscape, which I'm not sure you can see on this camera. Not a chance. But yeah, it's been raining really heavily the last few days. I kept an eye on the weather, knowing that today was meant to be like this, not clear as such, but without rain, and I've got really lucky, I think, so I'm really happy. First camp should be relatively dry, although that said, I think it might rain in the morning, and then it will just be, you know, a quick job getting packed down and getting out of here.
The temperature was dropping and it was getting soggier underfoot as I made my way to the campsite. I noticed the stream was a little swollen as I crossed it, and then I was onto a little lumpy field of rocks and short grass. Finding evidence of big cats or possible pagan offerings, I continued hurriedly to cross the final obstacle, the river. Stupidly, I hadn't considered the river as a hazard. In my research I had read that there were stepping stones somewhere, but I didn't know where and I was getting impatient. The river looked like it was moving fast. The riverbed was dark, so I couldn't easily judge the depth. Some places looked shallow and others looked really deep. With the recent rainfall it had become more dangerous and I was getting a bit stressed. I was so close to my endpoint, but I just couldn't get there. I found a route that had an okay risk profile. Worst case scenario is I'd fall in and ruin my camera equipment and I'd have to abort mission, but I edge out onto the rocks and psych myself up for a deceptively large leap to the other side.
I can do this. I can do this. And if I don't, it's just a wet foot. Okay, come on boys, come on boys. Ah! You motherfucker! Yeah! Oh. Okay, back to it.
With the river crossing successful and all my camera items safe and dry, I was closer than ever to my destination.
Okay. Well, I just got myself a bit lost. It took a while to reorientate myself. I couldn't see any sign of a stone circle or the longest stone row in the world. But actually, that said, here we go, fellas. Let me introduce you to that one, that one, that one. Let me drop down a little bit, see if we can get a better shot down here. Okay, so I've stumbled upon the row, but let's find that stone circle, shall we?
I followed the faint path alongside the stone road, desperately searching for the ring of stones, but it was futile. The temperature dropped and fatigue set in, and I decided to make camp and find the stones in the morning when I had some light and I could do some nice filming. I came to a donut-shaped mound of rocks which looked like a crude wind shelter. It was a good landmark and I decided to pitch up next to it. It was pretty hard pitching the tent in the dark. As it would turn out, I wasn't too far from the stone circle, maybe another 10 or 15 minutes of walking. This is not meant to look like this. My excuse is that I've never pitched this tent before. I have no space where I live in a flat in London to pitch it. But this isn't good. But I just wanted to get in and I just want to get comfy. And I'm tired. And it's 6:15. It's getting dinner time soon. I continued unpacking and making myself at home. I found some jerky and took a mo for a quick snack. The weather's coming in a bit, it's starting to rain. I've set up a camera outside to do a night time lapse. Now, I don't know how successful that'll be because there is, well, when there's rain, there's cloud. My main concern at the moment is just getting wet throughout the night because the tent is definitely not pitched perfectly. If the outer shell touches the inner shell, it could send some water through. I have brought a thermometer, digital thermometer, with an inside temperature and an outside temperature. So outside it's currently 6 degrees and inside it's currently 7 degrees. I am glad I committed to this. I'm looking on the optimistic, positive, brighter side of things, and this is what it's about. Nothing ever really goes ideally to plan. As I waited for the rice to cook, I found myself thinking about the ban on wild camping again. And it made me sad to think that this multi-millionaire hedge fund manager Alexander Darwell wants to keep people from having their own character building experiences in the wild. I just don't understand it. Oh, bit of spray. I definitely need to get my camp craft sorted out. It's been a while since I have camped, so compliments to the chef. I was feeling full and comfy, and it was time to top it all off with a nightcap. Cheers. The weather has come in a bit harder and I am thinking about my tent and how I wish I pitched it better. I'm sure it'll be fine. I seam sealed it the other day before I took it out, which is a way of making it a bit more waterproof. But yeah, I hope this passes. Quite strong winds. The weather's just got worse. The panel on this side is starting to ingress. I think I just have to stay and ride it out. A few hours had passed and the weather had got a lot worse. Water had started to get through and my sleeping bag and camera equipment were getting a little bit wet. I had a few hours left until sunrise and I had two options. Wait until sunrise and get off the moor in bad conditions, or leave now before everything gets wet. I'm gonna make my move. I'm gonna spend some time packing up here internally, and then I'm gonna pack the tent and get out of here.
I've been trying to be my own guiding star, but it appears it hasn't taken me very far.
I got my clothes back on and I was feeling good about my decisions. I was annoyed with my situation and I just wanted to leave. I felt foolish and regretted almost everything about this whole situation. I carefully packed my camera equipment away so it wouldn't get wet, and then I went outside. The conditions were really terrible, and it was at this point I was sure I wouldn't continue with the video. I thought I would just give up on the whole project and I'd just be a hypocrite, but no one would ever know. This wasn't the story I had planned back home in the comfort of my flat, and I felt really tired and stupid. With the tent packed, I went back to the river, which was now raging, and the banks had broken and the bank sides were waterlogged and deceptively dangerous, and I was soaked through. I carefully looked for a spot to cross, but it was really high risk and I didn't know the area at all, and actually no one other than my sleeping girlfriend knew where I was. So I'd made a big mistake leaving the tent and I was about to learn a big lesson.
Okay, I've been looking for a way across the river for a while. It's just far too dangerous. So I'm going to go back a different way and get into a village, nearby village of Harford. At least that's the plan.
I knew there was another path that led off the moors without having to cross the river, so as long as I continued south and kept the river to my left, I should eventually pick it up. I had no landmarks for reference, so my map was useless and my map reading skills were nowhere near good enough for this challenge. My phone, which had run down to about 30% battery, was the only tool I had to navigate using its GPS. So to avoid being too close to the river, I walked up on higher ground, and when I could no longer hear the river, I would drop down a bit. At one point, I actually fell waist deep into a hole that was surrounded by some tufts of grass and some mounds of earth. It was actually really scary and things were really not good. I needed to get off the moors as soon as possible. Of course, I did get off and lived to tell the tale. It took a long time to get to the path and I had put myself in unnecessary danger, but eventually the path led to an industrial state where I took a moment of reflection.
Okay, I'm off the moors, thank God. I've made it to civilization essentially. I'm gonna give my girlfriend a call and get her to pick me up. If she's awake. It's taken more from me than I had anticipated and I've learned a lot, but mostly that I'm an idiot.
My girlfriend wasn't awake, so I carried on walking and eventually got to Cornwood, where I got picked up.
Will that have any effect other than a much needed boost to the morale of the attacker? It comes at a very consequential time in the war.
Hi.
So yeah, this isn't what I had planned, and if I did it again, I probably would have waited it out longer in the tent for a few more hours before departing in the daylight. I think I let frustration get the better of me. I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do and it didn't happen, so I opted to abort rather than push through. I think I also didn't have enough respect for the weather or the area that I was in. I was seeing this as a video project rather than an adventure, and I'd got things confused almost. But I do think it sets the challenge up now. I feel I fell in the deep end and it was a shit show, so it can only get better from here, right?